Hey folks, welcome. Here we discuss real stories by real people. Today we have the story of a man who finds out his wife has been dating a 22-year-old guy and doing drugs. Let's see how it goes. I, 30 male, am a police officer in Texas and have been for about 5 years. I began dating the woman who would become my 31 female wife while I was still in training, and we've been married for about 3 or 4 years. While we were dating, we never had any problems, and even after we got married, we only had issues with finance stuff. We worked through it as married couples do, and everything seemed great. We were planning for a baby when things started to change. My wife got a new job at the county clerk's office, and a little after she started working there, she started to act differently. She began to have all these shifts in point of view, like she became vegan and started to espouse the values of not participating in the murder meat industry, when a week before she was eating steak with me. She wanted us to move to Austin all of a sudden in order to get closer to the culture, but she wouldn't explain what that meant. She got really into spirituality, alt music, and she tried to get me into weed, but I wasn't going for it. I could not for the life of me figure out why my wife, who's in her early 30s, suddenly started acting like a moody 17-year-old who's trying to find herself. Even though these points of view came on really quickly, she would chastise me for not suddenly believing in them. I really did my best to be accommodating and polite, but it seemed like I was never in the right. She would try to start arguments out of the blue, mostly about little things. I remember we once got into this really dumb argument about whether or not this Mongolian-themed buffet restaurant was offensive or not. My partner's Hispanic, and they would get into these endless arguments about the use of gendered language in Spanish and the whole Latinx thing. It was just a mess, and I didn't know how to fix it. Well, a couple of nights ago, I was on Graveyard doing traffic stops with my partner. We caught a Camaro doing 80 and a 50 at like midnight to 1. I figured it was some 16-year-old who was trying to show off or something. We stop the car and my partner and go to get the license while I'm running plates. I see him talking to the driver and he seems to see something in the passenger side. He starts looking around like he's in disbelief and jogs back to the car. He comes back with this stark white face and tells me I need to come see this. So I do, and I walk up to the driver's side door and I'm just assaulted by the smell of alcohol, weed, and Febreze. I know it's like a stereotype of cops to lie about smelling substances, but I swear to God, if you lit a match 10 feet from that car, you'd cause a fire. There was that much of a smell. Now I'm a bit more annoyed. I come up to the driver and I see this guy who must be 21 or 22. He tries to run the whole sovereign citizen gambit on me, don't ever do this, and begins protesting when I tell him how fast he was going. I notice that his passenger's a woman who has turned away from me. Who do I see in the passenger side but my wife, who's desperately trying to hide her face and slink into the seat? Well, I'm totally floored. I step back and let my partner go through the motions of everything while I try to talk to my wife about what she's doing. The driver started getting very belligerent about us talking. Finally, I tell her to just sit against the car while we deal with the driver. The driver blows hot and fails field sobriety tests. We start putting him in cuffs, and I see my wife trying to run away. I had to put my own wife in cuffs because she was trying to fight me. She is obliterated, barely able to speak because she's slurring her words so much and crying a river. She's apologizing while at the same time saying she didn't do anything, while saying at the same time that if she did do something, then it was all my fault. Altogether like a perpetual motion machine. I think I would have been more angry with her, but she was such a mess that I could barely understand what she was saying. We get her to take a breathalyzer and do sobriety tests, which she of course fails. Inside the car, we found small bags of weed and what I assume is cocaine. I'm getting in contact with a divorce lawyer at the moment. I found out from people at the station that the two were dating and had just come back from some party. I don't think there was any lesson in this story, but I hope it was illuminating for some people. Update. The divorce proceedings went about as well as you could expect. Poorly. We started living separately and started the process of getting a divorce. The whole event has released a side of my wife that I had never seen before. She has been unbelievable. She claimed at first that I had been physically and verbally abusive to her at home, but soon rescinded that when she couldn't point to any instances of that happening. and couldn't find anyone to make that claim believable. She claimed that they were stopped unjustly, that we had no right to stop them, which means that any findings or incidents that occurred during the stop are a moot issue. Then she said that I began to beat her during the traffic stop, which has incited an internal investigation of the incident. Now I'm on leave for daring to arrest my wife for being high as a kite and trying to run away from a drunk driving incident. My attorney has advised me that it would be better to wait for the investigation to clear me before continuing with the divorce. So I hope things start moving in my favor soon. God knows I need it. Last update. I have been cleared of all wrongdoing thanks to my body cam footage, though my partner and I did get reprimanded for not calling in additional officers to handle my wife, which would have been what we were supposed to do in issues regarding family. I'm so thankful that I didn't get as angry as I was really feeling. Her lawyer was really pushing for proceedings to go very fast while I was being investigated, which now works in our favor since I got cleared. It looks like most of my demands are going to be met easily, and the things that have resistance aren't the things I really care about. I think this is mostly because of what's happening with her. My soon-to-be ex-wife was actually found with hard drugs on her person and in her purse during the arrest, and is now facing additional time for drugs. She tried to reconcile things very briefly, but once I told her that I wouldn't be able to help her, she went back to how she was. She started going on this tirade about how bad I was and how I failed her and why she did the things that she did. I just tuned her out until I told her that she was probably going to do at least a year in prison and that she'd probably be losing her job if she hadn't already. Don't do drugs, kids. I'm glad you're finally free of this woman, OP. She sounds like a nightmare. She didn't only cheat on you, but she was also doing drugs with it. And when you finally asked for a divorce, she started to act like you were the bad guy here and that she did nothing wrong. It's a good thing none of her lies stuck and that you're not being punished over something you didn't do. You'll never know what or why she changed so drastically, so I suggest you don't try to figure it out. Just be glad to get rid of her and start a new chapter in your life. Good luck, OP. Story 2. My wife, 43, and I, 34, have been married for 10 years and met while I was stationed overseas. Before getting married, we were engaged for 2 years, and I believed we were deeply in love. I picked up a job teaching conversational English in her home country, and during this time, we decided on getting married. And then the first ugly sign appeared. After we got married and started the process of getting her visa to come to the US with me, it was revealed she was already currently married to someone from another country. She never disclosed any of this to me and probably never would have if the embassy hadn't discovered it first. In her words, she was afraid I would lose all interest in her if I found out she was married before. Truth be told, I likely would have, as I was still young when we first met. She claimed she left that husband because of the abuse she received from him and his relatives, still lived with his parents. I was crushed at that time as we had only been married for about a month. Somehow I convinced myself that she was just in a terrible relationship and that I had no business getting married if I bailed out after being married for only a month. Inside, I really wanted this life with her, even if it meant working through that. And that's exactly what I attempted to do, hard as it was. Fast forward a few years, and I'm back living in the US, having completed her visa process, and we're living as a happily married couple. Because she lied about her past marriage, it would take 2 years to redo the visa work we started. And I had left her country when my contract expired, not knowing the process would take this long. Currently, as of a few days ago, I logged into Second Life, a game I rarely touched since she didn't really spend time with me in it, and I received a message from some stranger. He tells me that he knows who I am and that my wife is a lying cheater that sleeps with guys while I'm at work. He then recited facts about me, my work, my schedule, and my hobbies that only my wife could have told him. I was stunned, shocked, and worried. Knowing something was foul, I went for my wife's laptop and logged onto her account and started digging for evidence. This is something I had never done before, as I had always trusted her, and would never go snooping behind her back like this. But after a few minutes of research, I discovered logs of previous chats. She told this stranger several times over several days about how much she loves him, she misses him. She called him baby sweetheart, bought him in-game gifts using in-game currency. I was destroyed. From 2014 to 2015, she was having cybersex in this Second Life game with this guy who contacted me. But it wasn't restricted to just the game. She gave out her phone number to him. While I'm out working, she was also having phone sex with him. It wasn't some fling or something she even kept in-game. This was an affair she was having, telling him how much she loves him and everything. She claims after they started fighting, they ended their relationship and just continued being friends. At times, he would get stalkerish and she would remove him from her contacts. This would infuriate him and he would create an alternate character to threaten her, saying how he's going to find her, kill her, and tell me about their relationship. Being scared, my wife would add him back, pretend to be friends, only to repeat this cycle over several times over the next few years. Yes, they somehow remained friends for years after this affair. The next stab came when I was sent to an Air Force base for a 3-month training for my job. This was about 5 months ago. During this time, I sent my wife back to her home country to spend time with her family, as I didn't want to leave her home alone for 3 months. She can't even drive. It was a vacation that I had saved for, but wanted her to see her relatives again. We would talk each day during this time, and we were so happy to be reunited when this training was over. But then I discovered she was still friends with this other guy during my trip. She still talked to him, worried he might go back and tell me what they were doing if she didn't keep talking to him. This is an area that I'm still confused about. He tells me that she said she was going to leave me, that she would stay in her home country and not come back. She easily could have accomplished this, and yet she never did. She claims she only said this to get him to not talk to me, but I suspect she's lying. Wouldn't matter either way, she still had this affair for over a year. Where we stand now. I couldn't speak to her after all this. I didn't sleep or eat for 2 days. At first, she gave me space, likely believing it would just be a fight and be over with. But when I told her she's ruined this marriage and that we would be getting a divorce, it hit her. She's tried a couple of times to justify her actions, bring up past faults of mine, but nothing comes close to having an affair. The other day, I told her to group message her relatives back home, everyone on her phone's contact list, and tell them about how she had an affair for over a year. She did this and has stopped trying to justify herself now. The realization has sunk that she's destroyed this marriage. It's been 3 days since this nightmare happened, and although we live in the same house together, we rarely speak. I've told her she needs to prepare for a divorce, and that means finding another place to live. She's contacting some friends and relatives here in the US, but we need to renew her passport first. I've gathered the documents we need for that. Now I just need to take some time off work to drive her to the embassy to renew this passport of hers. Part of me wants to find a way to make this work, as it's hard to move past a 10-year marriage. I still love her, but what she's done is something I don't think I can ever forgive. I felt the same way when I found out about her previous marriage, but this is different. She did this from the comfort of my home, using things I bought her, and telling another man that she loves him. It makes me sick every time. Question: should I move forward with the divorce? Try therapy? I haven't even looked at her since this all happened. She just makes me sick. This affair may have been cyber in nature, but it extended for so long and exchanged so much that I don't think I could ever function with her again, as much as I want to. I can't even imagine how to rebuild the trust she's destroyed from me. I'm sorry this happened to your marriage, OP. My advice would be to move forward with the divorce. Your wife showed a huge red flag since the start of your marriage by lying to you about being married before. Even if her ex-husband was abusive, she still should have told you about him before saying her vows to you. You've been taking care of her. That's way more than other people can do, by the way, and yet she cheated on you with some guy from the comfort of your home while using everything you got her with your hard-earned money. She's not a good wife. You deserve way better than trying to fix this and finding out years down the line that she never stopped being a cheater. Divorce her and let her. Take care, OP.